First is Cementos, a teacher at UA and a pro hero whose quirk, Cement, allows him to control and manipulate concrete in any way that he pleases. While Cementos can't create cement out of nothing, he can control it no matter what form it's in, giving him a major advantage in urban areas. Cementos can control huge quantities of cement at one time, making it easy for him to overwhelm foes and trap them in thick, muddy cement. He can throw up walls for defense as well, but the quirk also has some obvious utility outside of combat. Cementos is particularly helpful to have around after a fight, as he can easily repair damage done to buildings or paved areas. Next is Fat Absorption, the quirk used by the Osaka-based hero Fat Gum. Fat Absorption makes it possible to envelope objects that touch fat gum in layers of fat, which then sink into the fat until fully absorbed. The extra layers of fat that the quirk allows for can act as protection against a variety of quirks, particularly those which depend on blunt force. Fat Gum has even withstood knives and bullets using his quirk, but it's good for more than just defense. In a pinch, Fat Gum can use the energy of impacts against his body and redirect it at his opponents, giving him a powerful counterattack at the cost of his fat layers. After performing this powerful technique, Fat Gum will have more normal human proportions and will have to slowly reaccumulate his fat by eating like a normal person would. Next is Shield. Crust was the rank 6 pro hero, a feat which he attained with the help of his incredible quirk, Shield. Shield allows Crust to create hexagonal shields, which can slot together to create protective armor of just about any size. He can summon these in the air in front of him or others, as well as on his skin to act as a layer of armor. Unfortunately, Crust was killed in the hospital raid at the start of the Paranormal Liberation War, when Shigaraki began using his decay quirk on a wide area. Crust saved Aizawa's life, but had to sacrifice his own in the process, taken down by one of the few quirks his shield couldn't block. Next is Search. Ragdoll is a member of the hero group, the Wild Wild Pussycats, and the original user of the Search quirk, which allowed her to track the locations of up to 100 people at all times. Not only does it provide their location, but it also offers information on their weak points, enabling the user to defeat opponents more easily. It has obvious battle applications, but is also incredibly handy in search and rescue scenarios, as people can be located from even miles away. This quirk was so obviously useful that All For One went out of his way to steal it during the Forest Training Camp arc, and he put it to good use for the rest of the series, forcing Deku to go on the run in order to avoid putting people in danger. Next is Muscle Augmentation. Muscular's Muscle. Augmentation quirk adds countless layers of muscle mass atop his skin, which he can add to or retract at will, allowing him to bulk up to a tremendous size. Needless to say, all this extra muscle gives his attacks a lot more power, making him an extremely dangerous threat. Muscular knows how to use his power well, both for offense and defense, as the muscle mass can grow back rapidly, making it difficult to damage his true body. Muscle Augmentation is such a powerful quirk that All For One provided it to some of his Nomu to enhance their strength, meaning Muscular isn't the only one to wield this power. The sheer power of Muscular's quirk meant that when he was arrested, they placed him directly into the high-security Tartarus facility, a place reserved for the worst and most dangerous villains. Next is Whirlwind. As one of the top recommended students for UA and one of Shiketsu High's best students, Inasa possesses quite a powerful quirk that makes him one of the most promising future heroes. Inasa's quirk, Whirlwind, is an emitter-type quirk that allows him to create and control strong gusts of wind. The quirk is highly versatile, allowing Inasa to deflect incoming projectiles, sweep away swarms of opponents with ease, and even propel himself into the air as he pleases. Like the name of the quirk implies, he can also create small yet powerful tornadoes. Despite the innate destructiveness of his quirk, Inasa's fine control over it even allows him to move people and debris carefully, making Whirlwind practical even in a rescue situation. The quirk's only known weakness is fire, as large amounts of heat weaken Inasa's control over the wind, as per the natural laws of science. Next is Hardening. One of U.A quote, S-Class 1A students, Eijiro Kirishima features prominently in the My Hero Academia anime. His quirk, Hardening, allows him to morph his body into a near unbreakable material and transforms his arms into sharp weapons. It may not be one of the class's flashiest quirks, but it is proven to be devastating to enemies in battle. During his training with pro hero Fat Gum, and once again during the Shie Hasaikai attack, Kirishima demonstrated his prowess in combat, going toe-to-toe with some of My Hero Academia's fiercest villains. Next is creation. Momo's quirk allows her to create essentially any object. She understands the structure of out-of-her-own-body fats, with seemingly no limit as to what she can create. Her use of the quirk has included everything from sedatives to actual cannons, making her the ultimate resource to have on a team. No matter what a hero might need, Momo can create it in an instant. Her only real weakness is that using the quirk too much can leave her physically exhausted, as it consumes all the fat in her body, leaving none for her to use as fuel. This is one quirk that, in the hands of anyone less brilliant, might not be quite so impressive. Next is IQ. A Seiyai Academy student, Saiko Intelli is a very minor character featured in the anime version of the Provisional Hero License Exam arc. Though she's eventually outwitted by a group of students led by Momo Yaoyorozu, she proves to be an excellent leader with an indispensable ability. Saiko's quirk IQ allows her to temporarily boost her intelligence when she drinks tea. Different types of tea impart differing effects on her mental faculties, and in the anime, she is seen drinking English high tea, which seems to grant her advanced premonitory abilities. Next is Foresight. In any setting, the ability to see the future is an indispensable skill, and Sir Night-Eye's quirk, Foresight, is no exception. Foresight is yet another emitter-type quirk used by All Might's former sidekick Mirai Sasaki, also known as the pro-hero Sir Night-Eye. As its name implies, Foresight allows Sir Night-Eyes to look into a target's future from a third-person point of view. The quirk is activated by touching and maintaining eye contact with the desired target, and can be used for up to an hour a day, as long as Sir Night-Eye can maintain eye contact. Despite its 24-hour cooldown, Foresight was incredibly useful in battle, and allowed Sir Night-Eye to predict an opponent's every move, as seen from his first meeting with Deku. Unfortunately, the quirk was limited to sight only, and did not allow its user to hear the dialogue being spoken, which allowed for limited interpretation of visions. Next is Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow is the quirk belonging to Tokoyami and manifests as an evil spirit that's sealed to his body. Dark Shadow wields tremendous power and has something of a mind of its own, meaning it can attack without Tokoyami taking direct control. Tokoyami has also come up with some creative uses for it, such as using it to carry himself, effectively gaining the ability to fly. Dark Shadow gets stronger when in dimly lit environments, to the point where it can sometimes go out of control, especially early on in the series. With a clever choice of environment, Tokoyami's Dark Shadow can become nearly unstoppable. Next is Despot. Dictator is a minor villain from the Dark Hero arc who possesses the perfect quirk for a villain, Despot. Despot allows Dictator to literally puppet other people by thin strings, and he's able to command dozens of people at once with it when he first encounters Deku. By taking control of innocent people, it was nearly impossible for Deku to fight back without hurting them, and the people he controls are fully aware they're being controlled, begging for help all the while. It was only thanks to Bakugo's timely arrival that the situation was stopped, attacking from his only undefended side, above. Next is Transform. Toga is able to transform herself into anyone just by getting her hands on a small amount of their blood, making her the ultimate at infiltration and disguise. This was proven most successfully at the Provisional Hero Licensing exams when she impersonated Kami to get inside the test. Toga's quirk has grown even more powerful, however, as now she's able to use the quirks of those she transforms into, or at least the quirks of certain people whom she cares for deeply. That can make Toga unpredictable in battle, giving her an edge when going against heroes. Next is Copy. Nato Monoma has a unique quirk. He has the ability to copy other quirks. Thankfully, he can't actually copy all quirks, as he's beset by restrictions and limitations. Still, it can be an incredibly useful quirk with a boundless amount of potential applications. However, even with limitations on what he can mimic, this ability is extremely useful. It allows Monoma to be fairly versatile in any given situation. He can even combat an enemy with their own quirk, depending on what it is. Next is Confession, a quirk wielded by Shi Hasaiki affiliate Shin Namoto. Confession allows its user to draw out the truth from anyone after a question is asked. While it's not particularly useful in combat, it is of incredible importance to Overhaul during interrogations. Shin Namoto was held in high esteem by the notoriously testy Overhaul, and he was a vital member of the villain's 8 Bullets inner circle. Regrettably, Shin Namoto remained loyal to Overhaul to the last, an allegiance that landed him in prison following My Hero Academia's eventful Shi Hasaiki arc. Next is Warpgate. Though he's not all that powerful on his own, Kurogiri acts as an invaluable asset for Tamura Shigaraki and the League of Villains. Instrumental in their infiltration of the USJ in the first season of the anime, Kurogiri's quirk, Warpgate, allows him to envelop friends and foes in a dense fog that can teleport them from place to place. Perfect as a means of transportation and as an easy way to escape from hazardous situations, Kurogiri has a major hand in allowing the League of Villains to remain so evasive. Though he's proven to be fallible during the USJ attack, he's an essential member of any villain crew. Next is Erasure. UA professor Shota Aizawa may not be all that powerful in a conventional sense, but his quirk makes him incredibly valuable in combat. Wielding Erasure, Aizawa can temporarily deactivate a person's quirk, with the effect lasting for as long as he can keep his gaze fixed on them. Obviously, it comes with a few weaknesses. It doesn't last all that long, and it gives him dry eye. Still, we've seen him use it to save lives in the past. And though he won't be demolishing city blocks or pulverizing opponents, he's still more than capable of saving the day. Next is Blood Curdle. Stain had what is quite possibly the most brutal combination of quirk and personality. His quirk, Blood Curdle, gives him the ability to freeze anybody whose blood he ingests. His quirk is only effective in violent altercations, of course, and he then takes advantage of the person being frozen to maim or slaughter them. In the hands of a killer like Stain, this quirk is incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. The famous fight that pitted him against 3 UA students was indication enough of that fact. Furthermore, fans can only wonder how his quirk might have been utilized had he become a hero. Next is Heal. Recovery Girl boasts the incredible ability to heal the wounds of those she kisses. She's a prominent part of U.A quote. As faculty, and without her, the school wouldn't be able to concurrently conduct dangerous exercises with students. She's seen healing Izuku Midoriya on multiple occasions, but there are unfortunately limits to her abilities. Heal boosts the body's natural ability to recover, but its overuse could impart devastating effects. Still, her power is indispensable, and it's hard to know what UA plans to do once she can no longer perform her duties. Next is Blue Flame. As Endeavor's biological son, Dabi, formerly known as Toya Todoroki, wields the same fiery quirk as his father, albeit one that can reach even higher heat levels. Like the name says, Blue Flame grants Dabi a variety of fire-related abilities. But unlike Shoto and Enji's regular red flames, Dabi's fire burns blue, indicating that it is much hotter, possibly even hotter than lava. Blue Flame also allows him to instantly reduce his opponents to ashes and can supposedly cover a large radius of up to 5 kilometers. That said, Dabi's flames are so hot that they continue to ravage and destroy his body. Powerful as the quirk may be, it has ruined Dabi's life and will eventually claim it. Next is Half Cold, Half Hot. Most of the elemental quirks seen in the anime seem like they would be useful depending on the situation. However, many of them are limited by their environments, as evidenced in the series. That's what makes Todoroki's quirk stand out among the rest. Shoto Todoroki can command both fire and ice, and it's an extremely strong quirk. He was already a skilled fighter before entering UA as a result of his strict father. Todoroki is a versatile fighter thanks to his quirk, and he will become an even bigger threat as he gains more control over it. Next is Brainwashing. Shinso has a criminally undervalued quirk, but based on the way they test for new students, it's no surprise that Shinso failed. Yet that shouldn't be an indication of the strength of his quirk. The ability to control minds is not one that should be underestimated, especially when he can mimic others' voices and gain a higher chance of getting a response from his targets. Shinso played a minor role in the second season of the anime, but he's been a much larger part of the 5th season. His altercations with Deku have been some of the season's most interesting moments, and there's no denying that he wields an incredible power. Next is Decay. Tamura Shigaraki has one of the more disturbing My Hero Academia quirks out there. Not only is it dangerous, but it's painful, and quite frankly, it just looks alarming. Shigaraki has the quirk of Disintegration. We saw it get used against Aizawa in the 1st season. Shigaraki doesn't seem terribly interested in using his quirk in excess. It may be that it's physically painful or draining, but it's more likely there are other reasons he doesn't want to rely on the quirk. Next is Foldab Body, the current number 4 pro hero and highest rated member of the group of heroes known as the Lurkers. Pro hero Edgeshot boasts a strange quirk of which he makes incredible use. Known as Foldab Body, he's able to transform his body into a razor-sharp and incredibly thin strand, which he uses to slice through enemies and squeeze into tight spaces. While a deadly offensive tool, Foldab Body is versatile and makes Edgeshot a valuable asset in all sorts of situations. He played a major role in the attack in Camino Ward during the anime's 3rd season. Next is Fierce Wings. Fierce Wings is a powerful mutant-type quirk belonging to Hawk's Japan's number 2 pro hero. Hawk's immense popularity aside, his versatile quirk is also a major reason for his high ranking. Hawk's large red wings allow him to fly at breakneck speeds. He can also telepathically control each individual feather with great precision. Even a single feather is powerful enough to lift a person off the ground, making Hawk's quirk perfect for rescue operations. Hawks also shares a sensory connection to his feathers and can disperse them over a large area to detect even the slightest vibration. Besides this, he also uses his feathers as blades, which were tough enough to stand up against the Nomu. The biggest weakness of Fierce Wings is inevitably fire, which can burn and destroy Hawk's feathers for good, which then take a few weeks to regenerate. Next is Explosion. Katsuki Bakugo, the longtime rival of series protagonist Izuku Midoriya, wields an incredibly devastating quirk known simply as Explosion. Able to ignite the nitroglycerin which he excretes from his hands, Bakugo can torch his enemies with ease, further developing his quirk to allow him to fly via controlled blasts. Unfortunately, his immense power is counterbalanced by his equally hot temper. A hothead through and through, Bakugo isn't easy to get along with, and this hinders his ability to work as part of a team. Some fans even suggest that Bakugo fits into the T-Sunder character archetype. Nevertheless, he's an incredible fighter, and he possesses one of Class 1, A's most impactful quirks. Also, Izuku Midoriya's One for All was briefly transferred to Bakugo during the events of the Heroes Rising film. Next is Manifest. It may not seem all that useful on paper, but Tamaki Amajiki's Manifest quirk can be incredibly powerful. Manifest allows Amajiki to change his appendages into those of animals he's eaten recently. With this, he's able to create tentacles and a massive shell to ensnare and attack his enemies. He can also sprout wings, giving him even more of an edge. Though he goes by the intimidating name of Sun Eater, he's brought down by his extreme lack of self-confidence. Still, he's been able to shake off multiple powerful attackers at once, and he's doubtlessly one of the anime's most powerful characters. Next is Double. Twice's quirk allows him to create duplicates of himself and others, provided he has exact measurements of them. For much of My Hero Academia, Twice has had a psychological block that kept him from using the quirk to its fullest. But he overcame that during the Meta Liberation Army arc, allowing him to create an endless wave of clones of himself. This was seen by the heroes as such a threat that they actually felt he had to be killed, or else the villains would surely win. The ability to conjure an army in an instant is definitely a powerful one, so it's no wonder the heroes felt that such lengths were justified. Next is Overhaul. Overhaul, aka Kai Chizaki, has one of the most terrifying MHA quirks. His villain name is based on the quirk itself. He can deconstruct and reconstruct matter, including organic matter, on a whim. He can also alter any item or person during this process. healing or damaging as he sees fit. That makes him an extremely dangerous person to try and fight against, as our heroes learned. The end of Season 4 showed just how lethal he can be, taking on a group of protagonists without a moment's hesitation and nearly winning. Next is Rewind. Perhaps the most pivotal character to be introduced in the series' 4th season, Eri has the unique ability to rewind time, granting her the ability to either heal damage or revert others into a state of non-existence. She has no control over her quirk and has spent years under the thumb of Overhaul, who planned to use her quirk to mass-produce bullets that could rob heroes of their quirks. In the end, she was saved by Deku and brought to live at UA, but her story remains one of the most tragic seen in the series so far. Next is Hellflame, the current #1 pro hero in Japan following the retirement of All Might. In the 3rd season of My Hero Academia, Enji Todoroki, better known as Endeavor, commands an intimidating, fiery quirk known as Hellflame. Much like Katsuki Bakugo or his son Shoto Todoroki, Endeavor can summon powerful bursts of flame from his hands, and he's able to use it in all kinds of situations. Though his quirk may be similar to those of powerful UA students, Endeavor's years as a professional hero have given him even more of an edge. Most villains would be hard-pressed to take him on, with All For One himself perhaps being the only villain Endeavor couldn't beat. Next is New Order. Kathleen Bates, Star and Stripe is the top pro hero of the United States and All Might's former pupil. And as such, the quirk she wields is also one of the strongest ones My Hero Academia has ever seen. Though Star and Stripe was introduced quite late into the series, her unique quirk New Order bestows her with a near omnipotent power that was criminally underutilized by the series. New Order allows Kathleen to create new rules and apply them to herself, the people, and objects around her, and even her own quirk, bestowing them with new properties. The quirk is limited to anything Kathleen can touch and call out by name, including the air and laser beams. That said, Kathleen could only impose 2 rules at a time, and the quirk came with limits as to how powerful she could make herself. Next is One For All. Naturally, One For All had to be on this list. This quirk is technically a few quirks merged together, but since they'll never be separated, it's really only one. One For All combines immense strength and power with the ability to hand the quirk to somebody else. Thus, it creates a lineage of heroes, handing the quirk down through the ages. One For All is an exceptionally powerful quirk. All Might and Midoriya can both prove that fact with their performance in battle. Both heroes have been capable of amazing feats, with All Might being the #1 hero for years, and the last is All For One. All For One is the quirk that allows My Hero Academia's main villain to take any quirk he wishes. It's basically My Hero Academia's polar, opposite of All Might's One For All, and it allows All For One to get more and more powerful with time, picking and choosing the quirks he desires. To make matters worse, or better, depending on how fans want to look at it, this quirk also enables the user to transfer quirks between users, allowing All For One to take quirks from his enemies and give them to his followers. It's a smart way to ensure loyalty at the very least. It also means that All For One packs an incredible punch, able to use dozens of quirks at once, making him a real threat to even All Might. Strong quirks have ended up in the hands of both villains and heroes, and the most powerful of all are those who understand their quirks and know how to use them well. The best quirks are those that are applicable to a wide range of scenarios, and whose users know their own limits. That's what made All Might into a top hero, and what led to All For One being a deadly villain for over a century. Raw power is good, but power on its own is useless. A keen mind is necessary to take a quirk to its highest levels. My Hero Academia's best quirks aren't just the best because of what they can do, but also because of who's using them.